Catsynth TV. Hey everybody, Catsynth TV, and we're continuing our look at films set in San Francisco of the 1960s and 1970s with the original Dirty Harry. But before we begin, please subscribe to this channel for new cultural content coming out regularly. The movie follows the exploits of San Francisco Police Inspector Harry Callahan as he tries to stop a psychopathic serial murderer, Scorpio. Along the way, he casually thwarts a bank robbery where he delivers his signature line.
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
It's easy to draw comparisons to Bullitt, which we featured in a recent video. After all, both follow loner police detectives in almost the same era of San Francisco, and both feature awesome scores by Lalo Schifrin. But Dirty Harry feels far more violent, and its title character less likable. Nonetheless, it is the connection to this city in that era which draws us to both films. And with that, let's take a closer look at some of the familiar locations found in Dirty Harry. I was particularly proud of being able to match so many of these places by sight and inference, even almost 50 years later. Even the opening scene was familiar, with our killer peering down from the Bank of America building, 555 California, at the Hilton at 750 Kearny Street. There is no longer a pool on top of the Hilton, but it does currently house the Chinese Cultural Center and remains a pretty swanky hotel in the middle of the financial district in Chinatown. Many scenes in the movie are filmed either at San Francisco's iconic City Hall or the Hall of Justice at 850 Bryant Street that currently houses the Criminal Court and the Sheriff's Department. But it's finding the more esoteric locations that are most fun. For example, when Harry and Chico are driving through North Beach, we see them on Broadway turning the corner by the Condor. They then turn onto Grant Avenue and Chico says, "Let's go to Filbert and hang a left." This is followed by the chase down a small alley with Harry peering into the window of Hot Mary, where he proceeds to get roughed up by a few local toughs. Pulling up a map of the area, it was clear that they were on Grant, turning left onto Filbert Street. The layout of the alleyway that Harry turns into leads us to conclude that it was in fact Krause Grill Place connecting to this loop with Maddow Place. The buildings of these streets today look little changed from the 1970s. Harry and Chico are then called to an 804 in action at California Hall, Polk and Turk. This is the landmark California Hall at 600 Turk Street. As Harry ascends to confront the man on the ledge, you can see the detail of the masonry at the top level, and the light sign for the neighboring Embassy Hotel remains to this day. The next day, we see Harry and Chico ascending Potrero Hill with the downtown skyline behind them. This is probably Connecticut Street, although I have not been able to confirm. They are then called to the site of a body found at Sierra and Texas Street on the southeast corner of the neighborhood. This is the edge of Potrero Hill, close to the dog patch. The housing projects above the vacant lot where they find the victim are still present, but the water tower is gone, and the lot now contains high-end condos. Those look pretty nice, actually. Several scenes take place in and around Washington Square Park in North Beach, with the ornate church of Peter and Paul playing a prominent role along with the intersection of Stockton and Union. However, the giant Jesus Saves sign was fictional. And then there is the infamous ransom run. Harry goes to a payphone on Marina Green, specifically the East Harbor across from Fort Mason. He is then instructed to go to Forest Hill Station. This is a beautiful old train station on Laguna Honda Boulevard, on the far side of Twin Peaks. One can still catch the underground muni lines here. Indeed, Harry is instructed to get on the K train and head to Church at 20th. The one odd thing about this is that while the K line goes through Forest Hill, it is the J that runs to Church and 20th on the south side of Dolores Park. Again via payphone, the killer then instructs Harry to go north to Aquatic Park, specifically to the hamburger stand. Harry goes through the Fort Mason Tunnel where someone rather stupidly attempts to jack him. The Fort Mason Tunnel has long since been closed and is overgrown, but the Art Deco hamburger stand is still there. At this point, we are realizing just how ridiculous it is to connect all the places on foot. Not only are they far apart from one another, they are at rather different elevations. And then there is the final spot in the ransom run, the cross atop Mount Davidson, the highest point in the city. Harry radios in from Lansdale Street, one of the curving streets surrounding Mount Davidson Park. He then heads into the heavily wooded park up to the cross. Here he finally confronts Scorpio, and after a brutal fight ends up stabbing him severely in the leg. Ouch. Following up on a lead from the emergency clinic where Scorpio was treated, They find out he is a groundskeeper at Kezar Stadium, located on the southeast corner of Golden Gate Park. The original Kezar Stadium was the home of the San Francisco 49ers, who had just moved to Candlestick Park before the filming of the movie began. It was demolished in 1989 and replaced with a more modest athletic facility. This is, of course, the site of one of the movie's most brutal scenes, but we won't go into that now. We pick up our review of locations after Scorpio has been released for lack of admissible evidence and is seen crossing Portsmouth Square in Chinatown. The square also connects to the Hilton from the first scene by a large concrete walkway over Kearny Street. We then follow our hero and villain back to Broadway with the Condor Club, Big Al's, and the Roaring Twenties, strip clubs that continue to exist to this day, or at least did until COVID-19. It's not far from here that Scorpio pays someone to beat the shit out of him in order to frame Harry and SFPD for continued harassment. We later follow a smug Scorpio underneath the Embarcadero Freeway. Remember the Embarcadero Freeway? Heading to a liquor store in a surprisingly elaborate scheme to get a gun. The liquor store and freeway are no more, but the building remains and houses restaurants and offices. The site of the school bus hijacking is in Golden Gate Heights, not far from the colorful 16th Street steps. It's the one location I was not able to pick out while watching the film, but I did recognize when the bus went by the bison paddock in Golden Gate Park and then crossed the Golden Gate Bridge into Marin County. Here we come to the movie's finale after the most disturbing rendition of Row, Row, Row Your Boat ever along the US 101 freeway. They exit at Sir Francis Drake Boulevard, now the location of a major ferry terminal and a rather swanky outdoor mall and market. I've gotten bagels at the Y Suns outlet there, but back in 1971, it was a more modest industrial location, including the Hutchison Company Quarry, where Harry and Scorpio began their final duel among the big rocks being broken up into smaller rocks. The quarry is long gone, as is the lake in the final scene. I enjoyed finding all these familiar San Francisco locations, the music, and the overall 1970s vibe. But beyond that, my feelings towards this film are complicated. Both the main character and the themes come across as rather reactionary, the white tough guy battling both criminals and an increasingly liberal world. A seemingly perpetual conflict that still haunts us today. But in its defense, the movie does take a more nuanced look at its main character, making him rather unlikable, even as you want him to succeed. Do you have thoughts about Dirty Harry or its connections to San Francisco? Please let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Check out more at www.catsynth.com and please subscribe to CatSynth TV.